Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. Let's discuss what photosynthesis, the creation of vital oxygen, and the creation of essential glucose. Let's discuss this picture very clearly once for all. Now you can see right on top you have a sun, but within the sun there is a symbol of 0. That means Shunya, 0, is represented in the circular form which Sun Aditi represent as such. Sun produces Aditi, which is helium, and this energy put together is what makes a difference to life on earth, particularly in human beings. Aditi can make you become truthful, honest and other things, and you could be literally 0 to circular to stage as such. So left, right, sun and Aditi represent the universal energy which is essential for photosynthesis. Second thing you see number 8. Yeah, infinity by and large. That is the power of universal consciousness, which I do believe makes all the difference, and it is with Vaishno Devi or Mata Vaishno Devi 8 and oxygen 8 protons by and large. And 8, everything goes around oxygen, and oxygen is the one which makes a difference. And that is what Agni is, and that is what Rigved is primarily talking with the maximum about. Agni, oxygen, is the criteria which makes a difference to the entire universal consciousness. That's the second part. Third thing, right on top you can see oxygen cloud and oxygen coming as such. That means oxygen has made a difference in biological life by and large for everybody. So these three things, from sun, Aditi, to oxygen, to the clouds, and such is the prime objective of making a difference on biological life on the earth. Otherwise, without oxygen, biological life is not at all possible. That's one. Second thing, you can see the plant. And in the plant, you can see right on sides below the oxygen, there is a symbol of glucose. That means the prime energy required for the human body is glucose. Vital oxygen and essential glucose, these two things make all the difference for making body functional come and large. Without glucose you are dead, without water you are dead, without sodium you are dead, without oxygen you are dead. It's as simple as that. Then you come to the lower part, use 22 is written on top of carbon dioxide. That means carbon dioxide is another essential matter which is absolutely essential, and it's got 22 protons, 6 of carbon and 16 of oxygen put together are carbon dioxide. That is exactly what Divyanki is all about. Everything is made of 22 parts. Universal consciousness 22/7 as the pi, or 22 by 21 is the first stage of it. So both 22 as a universal consciousness or as the first stage of creation is 22 only, and that is carbon dioxide. Now in carbon dioxide, what is more important along with oxygen is carbon, and there is no biological life without carbon. So now you understand, helium, hydrogen are the vector one, then carbon and oxygen. These are the 4 elements which are absolutely essential to start the life, and you can see in this picture very, very clearly. On the right side you can see the symbol of carbon dioxide. You can see 1 carbon, 2 oxygen as such, and that is 22 all about. Then you see the plant emerged in soil, and in the soil you can see water element. Right side you can see the symbol of water which is polar in nature, and right side you can see 10. That means there are 10 protons in water, which is absolutely essential. So water 10 protons, carbon dioxide 2, oxygen 8, and then the whole concept of carbohydrate, glucose, everything put together comes from there only. So now you are seeing very clearly, hydrogen is the sun, helium is Aditi, the inner soul, then carbon 6, oxygen 8, water 10, and carbon dioxide 22. This is the divine mathematics which is designed, and that exactly is represented in Devyank 22 by 21 to the power of 10, 0.34419, which is equivalent to 21 again. and then most approximate decimal value of golden ratio is 1.618034, not 1.618 or not 1.6183997, etc., etc. So you have come to the perfect divine design for the first time in the history of mankind from 2015 only. Let's with that see the perfect design of mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology and medical sciences. Now comes the question of photosynthesis. Now you can see the sun on top, then plant and then earth. Plant is on the earth, sun is giving, this combination is giving synthesis of carbohydrate. Now coming to carbohydrate or glucose by and large. Now come to the question of genesis of biochemistry. The science of biochemistry has evolved from atoms, elements, molecules and organic compounds in the universal consciousness itself. That exactly is the central theme of Rig Veda. It talks about Agni, which is oxygen, and also the water, and also the solids, and also the Vayu, Akash put together. Everything about the chemistry, elemental to organic to inorganic to biochemistry, everything is in Rig Veda itself. And the beauty of that as a human being creation is in Aitreya Upanishad. Once that is understood, you understand how human beings were created, evolved and reached the highest level one by one. Hence, the synthesis of biochemical compounds in plants is a very interesting subject of we are going to discuss one by one. Now, I am coming to the again point once again. The inner planets are four in nature after the Sun, then Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars. These are four solid planets before asteroid belt comes in between. And these are the four: Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars had 97% carbon dioxide to start with. That means whole thing had carbon dioxide 22 particles to start with. That exactly I am talking about. Plants use carbon dioxide from earth to convert into 21% oxygen is the second part of the way. Interesting enough, in Mercury, direct sunlight without plants converts carbon dioxide into oxygen 42%. But on earth through the plant it converts only to 21, and that's also interesting subject. But on the earth you have another product called nitrogen contains 78% and remaining is just 1%. Why 78% nitrogen content on the earth, not anywhere else, is also the product to be understood as we go through further. Carbon, hydrogen and oxygen will put carbohydrate, glucose, but to produce proteins you need nitrogen. Hydrogen, oxygen, carbon plus nitrogen put together will go, and further you will have phosphorus to bring energy or elemental ATP, etc., etc. We will talk about it at later. So now here you have oxygen 21, which is very vital, and nitrogen is ready for next protein synthesis and energy molecules thereafter. Once that is understood, I think we know very well how we are proceeding in the knowledge from 0 to 100% step by step. Now comes the question of periodic table. It's a divine periodic table. As the first trinity are three elements which are essential: hydrogen, carbon and oxygen, very clear. And first soul consciousness, the helium-4 is the fourth component. And three inorganic molecules which are absolutely essential is methane with the 10 protons, water with 10 protons and carbon dioxide with 22 protons. Entire chemistry revolves around this only. Then comes to the question of first greatest element, as I told you, is hydrogen, Aditya or the sun, which is the most abundant in the universe, and it can form all sorts of things perfectly and absolutely essential. It's a primordial particle, one proton, one electron only, and everything centers around that. I think that is beautiful knowledge. Second thing is the helium or Aditi 4, which is inner consciousness, which gives you the perfect experience of Shunya or zero as such, because it's round in thing. It is smaller than hydrogen. Hydrogen could be 22 parts and this could be 21 parts. And between that you can see 22 by 21 within hydrogen and helium itself. and that is second most abundant in the universe, and primarily in the middle planets or heavenly body it's abundant. Then come to the fourth greatest element. I am talking fourth, actually it's not a third, it's a carbon for organic life, because hydrogen, helium, then carbon. It is 6 protons and 6 electrons as such. Now the comes the question of the 18.5% is the body mass, and this is for organic, and methane is formed with carbon and hydrogen itself. Now come to the question of methane. You can see 1 carbon, 6 and 4 put together is 10, and all the chemical industry or chemical thing of carbon dioxide was formed from methane only. This is the most important molecule as far as energy is concerned, and I think these pictures make it very clearly. I have already explained in detail. It cannot give how for methane is converted into carbon dioxide in the presence of oxygen. Now the third thing is oxygen is fourth, is Agni, the fire element, which is 21% on this, and mercury it is 42%, and this is required for formation of protein including ATP. 40% is oxygen only, and once that is meant, why ATP is much more energy, because 42% or 40% is oxygen. Like in mercury it is 42%, here also 40%. That shows the importance of oxygen by and large in energy form. Without oxygen there is no light at all, and this experiment has been done in school. You put a bowl with the water and then candle, light it and put a tumbler. It will burn only as long there is oxygen. If there is no oxygen, there will not be light in the candle at all. And this is something which I want everybody to understand. This is the knowledge which is required to bring integration of universal wisdom as such. Now comes to the question of water. I told you 2 of hydrogen, 1 of oxygen is this, and the water percentage of water in the universe on this in the earth, human body and human cell is 61.8034. That's a part of Divyank which I am talking about, and 10 protons, and it is universal solvent which makes all the difference, including acid base balance can be done with H plus OH as a negative put together is a beautiful thing, and that is the knowledge required for everybody to understand how water can make a real difference in life. And I say it is Amrit, and without water there is no life, no creation, nothing at all. So some of Amrit, immortal life, is only because of water. Everything is water, elements of water, hydrogen water, medicines of water, everything is water, water and water alone. Now come to the Kachana Karna. In the picture you can see methane plus oxygen put together is carbon dioxide plus water. That is the cycle which is maintained, and in the process you can understand very clearly. Now I can say very clearly Earth had 97%, now it is 21% oxygen and 70% nitrogen, because biological life had to go for protein with nitrogen thereafter. Now comes to the question of photosynthesis, green pigment chloroplast, as you can see in the plant cells, and these are the structures which you can read in detail as such. Now come to the question of all the plants barring 2 sections of plants. Most of the plants produce oxygen in the morning at 6 a.m. when you put water and that, or evening. Daytime they don't produce much of oxygen. That is one part which is very, very clear on this part. It is a banyan tree which can produce water throughout, oxygen throughout the day as well as throughout the night. No other tree, and that's why I call banyan tree as Kalpavriksha. This is the whole thing which give you wisdom, because you need oxygen all the time, you need glucose all the time, you need atmosphere which is calm and quiet and which is homogeneous, etc. I have already explained in that. But other plants, it is only this. Now comes the question of photosynthesis. The 2 concepts very clear in this picture. Water is converted into oxygen in light, but is a carbon dioxide which is converted to sugar. But I know in darkness carbon dioxide is also converted into oxygen. Once this is understood, I think we are very clear how the nature works with divine mathematics. Now the same picture, now I'm showing little more clearly. Left side you can see the light, you can see the sun is falling on the fluoroplast, you have the water, you have the light reaction, and then oxygen being produced on the left side very clearly. That is happening in all the plants on the earth by and large. But right side you can see there is a darkness. That means in banyan tree and as a aloe vera tree, it's a carbon dioxide produces in glucose plus the oxygen. And once that is understood, I think you are clear how nature is giving the perfect knowledge, whereas what we are talking about to students is sectarian limited knowledge. We need to make it perfect so that everybody understands this is how nature unfolds things in the divine mathematics step by step in such a way that the sequence is maintained, your intelligence will be good, there is no display there, no differences, no difficulties at all, provided you approach education from 0 to 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 in that sequence, only then you will understand things properly. Jumping and trying to understand x, y, z without understanding a, b, c, m, n, o, p is going to be very difficult. That's why I'm trying to bring x, y, z to 0 level, then explain the whole thing as a sequence. And that's the reason you need to see it, all the videos, all the things as a sequence, only then you understand. Pick and choose it, not knowledge. It should be from beginning to the end as a sequence, as nature does it, not the man-made concept. No differences of opinion at all is allowed. All the defects should be eliminated, neti, and come to the impeccable wisdom. That is Akhand Vidyashri. That is the knowledge required for everybody. If the people are ignorant and falling because they have not been given the perfect knowledge, we need to do that. Now this is a picture of Kelvin. I am not going to detail how carbon dioxide is converted into glucose and what exactly in between happens is something which is very important. And also 6 carbon to 3 carbon sugar to 3 carbon acid, and the whole process is very interesting in the process, including the number of protons, etc. as such. Now come to the synthesis of glucose in plants. Now I put 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of water, and the light of sun gets converted into 1 molecule of glucose plus 6 molecules of oxygen. This is the picture which I want people to understand. And the whole process goes through the formation of photosynthesis through 7 stages. Again, one factor which I said, periodic table. There are 7 periods only. But as far as groups are concerned, there are 18. In the groups also you have 2, you have 10, then you have 18, you have 36, you have 52, you have 72, and thereafter. Once that whole periodic table understood and this process is understood, is very clear. Now in this particular picture, 7 steps is 6 carbons are starting with and lead to the 3 as a sugar and also 3 as a acidic form or lactic acid or pyruvic acid. We are going to show you as I move on with that direction. Now in this picture I am showing the glucose homeostasis within the human cells. One side you have glycolysis and another is gluconeogenesis. That means glycolysis is when glucose is converted into lactic acid or pyruvic acid. In the presence of oxygen it is pyruvic acid, without oxygen it is lactic acid. But there are 10 steps in that part as a glycolysis. Similarly, from pyruvic acid to back to glucose, again the reverse starts in the 10 stages. But in between you can see the lactic acid and pyruvic acid, 3 carbon acidic as such. But in between you can see 3 carbon sugar, which is adipose, which is a medium, which is perfect by and large. And then to glucose, glucose 6 phosphate, glucose 6 fructose 6 phosphate. Now one more point which I am making it very clear. Most elemental thing as far carbohydrate is, glucose is essentially used. Second thing which is very important is fructose, and incidentally glucose is also converted to fructose, and fructose is normally adiposed in liver, you can see on the right side. Once that is done, then combination of glucose plus fructose as a sucrose is 1000 times better than maltose, which has glucose plus glucose. If your focus is on sucrose, combination of glucose and fructose, it will be slow absorption, conversion into glucose from fructose to this, I think that makes life much more congenial. This thing, there are no offshoots, no peaks and valleys. You should have a life as such at a system, and once that is done, I think it's very clear how things that go on very well in the universal consciousness. Now come to the question of glucose. Since I'm talking about glucose primarily here, let's discuss the glucose. Perfect average value is 111 milligram per 100 ml of blood, and that means average from 100 to 125 is the average, medium is 111. But as far as the normal value is, fasting could be 80 and postprandial could be 140. Once you have the fasting up to 80 and postprandial only up to 45, 140, then you are very close to 111. That's ideal. You'll have no problem. You'll have perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise life. But second thing, if 80 comes down to 68 and postprandial goes to 180, you are still as a pre-diabetic stage, but it's still comfortable. You can do the same, change the whole thing with the diet control, exercise, other thing, because threshold value of sugar in the kidneys is 180. Till 180, sugar will not appear in urine at all. That means you are not a diabetic, you are pre-diabetic stage. And I think that's very important part in understanding glucose homeostasis. When blood comes down to 42 or increases to 291, that's where diabetes comes up, and that stage needs a treatment in a much more elective way. Maybe insulin is required and things much more than that. Till such time with the diet control, exercise can be done, then you need an extensive treatment to make sure insulin is pumped in and effectively you become a perfectly healthy, wealthy. And this is something which can also be designed with diet which is based on Divyang. I make it very clear. Carbohydrate should be around 61%, maybe 25 to 26% is protein, remaining lipids, no fats. Once that is done, I think you are perfectly fine, and particularly protein, lipoprotein is more important in seeds and fruits, etc., than taking adipose tissue or fat or ghee, etc., as such. And once this is understood, I think we are very clear in understanding how we can go to make ourselves perfectly healthy. So two things which are standalone in this: there is a vital oxygen without which we cannot survive, and it's the vital glucose without which we cannot survive, and also the fructose combination, also the water, and also the sodium which will take. Once that is in homeostasis, you will perfectly fine. You will have no problem whatsoever. Now, as that is the same picture once again, this is something which I am going to show you with respect to something which India did talk about. Now, coming to the mantra part. Morning, pray to Lord Surya, 6 a.m. pour water and call it Brahmani Gayatri to increase more oxygen in the plant. Evening 6, Rudra Granthi facing west, pouring water will give you plants for everything. And afternoon this, and that means sit under the banyan tree with that pour water thing. And now let me make one thing clear. Banyan tree also can survive without rain and other things. It has the power of converting, getting from the moisture itself and converting to oxygen during daytime and also during night time. Now this is a picture. I'm not going to talk much about it, but the whole concept is very clear. The message of this particular video is very clear. You need an essential water, you need essential carbon dioxide, you need oxygen, and you also need glucose, you also need fructose. Everything is a combination perfectly around the divine mathematics as such, including Divyang. And this is a presentation in a subtle form. Ida, Pingla, everything is there. I think once this is understood, I think we are very clear how to understand the concept and be a perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise. And that is integrated knowledge which I am talking about. Anyway, thank you very much.